When you first visited the airfield at the start of your flight training, you might have had a feeling that is common for beginning students. I may be able to fly one of those things, but takeoffs and landings, that looks tricky. It isn't easy, but on the other hand, you know by now that it isn't as difficult as it looked that first day. To clear up any confusion that may still remain in your mind, we will spend the next few minutes...
Why don't you lay off the chit-chat and just tell them we're going to show them how to get up in the air and back down again without busting nothing?
If you give me a chance, that's just what I was coming to.
We all read the title at the beginning of the picture. Let's go.
Why did I ever let you in here? Okay, we'll go. Here is an airfield with the wind direction indicated. Traffic into and out of the airfield follows a definite pattern like this. We will use one runway for simplification. Each part of the pattern has a name. The takeoff leg, the crosswind leg, the downwind leg, the base leg. Spread your ability too thin by trying a complex or difficult approach to what may only appear to be a more suitable landing site. If you have sufficient time to attempt a restart, try it after you have planned your approach. Use flaps as necessary, just as you would in the traffic pattern. After you've turned on to final and made your last flap adjustment, turn your gas off. Turn off all switches. Then lock your shoulder harness. Make a normal round out and touchdown. As you contact the ground, pay close attention to directional control. It may be necessary to avoid rocks, holes, trees, or cows. Do it with smooth pressure on your brakes to help stop the plane as soon as practicable.
Here's one guy who's glad that his instructor cut the throttle on him plenty of times.
Practice and planning, that's the key to everything in flying.
One thing you gotta know about in forced landings is how...
This accident could have been avoided, but the student forgot what his instructor had taught him. By not remaining calm, he lost directional control. His use of ailerons, rudder, and elevator during the after-landing roll
before you get lost in the nuts and bolts, I gotta set these guys straight on something.
Bird Dog, are you here again? I thought maybe I could get through one film without your able assistance.
Okay, I'll shut up. But first, I gotta say something.
That's what I mean. You can shut up and say something at the same time? All right, go ahead.
Look at this mess. Pay attention now. This bird dog is just barely worth fixing. But the guy who was flying it didn't even get a scratch. I ask you, is that fair?
It may not seem fair to you, Bird Dog, but it's a good thing for students to know about. Aviators are practically never injured in landing accidents. Out of 316 planes damaged by loss of directional control, the United States Army Board for Aviation Accident Research reports only 2 aviators injured.
Only 2? And 316 planes mangled?
That's right, 2 injuries in a little over 3 years.
316 planes? What about them?
Repair and replacement of those planes cost the Army $750,129.
$750,000? 750,000 $1 bills? This picture better be good. Let's get going.
Most of these accidents were caused by 2 common problems: lack of confidence and overconfidence. Let's take 2 of them one at a time and find out why they occurred. The first accident happened because the student had a deep-seated doubt of his ability to handle the aircraft in landing. As he flies base leg, he's calm and capable. but he gets himself into just the situation he'd hoped to avoid. He turns onto final too soon, and now he must try to readjust his position to align himself with the runway. The old panic takes over. As he comes in, he's so eager to get it on the ground that he rounds out a little high, and as the plane stalls, he bounces. He adds throttle for a go-around, but at that moment the plane touches down again. Now look, his feet are on the brakes. The plane swerves and he slams it in rudder and aileron to correct. The right brake goes down hard. A severely damaged L-19 caused by loss of directional control.
No, caused by a guy getting shook.
Could he help that, Bird Dog?
Sure he could. If he's got a weak point, like getting shook on landings, he works on it. Lots of guys get squeamy feelings. You gotta fight back with willpower and know-how.
That's what the psychologists say too, Bird Dog. Make a small and willful attempt to control your emotions and you'll win every time.
Right. As psychologists say, think about what you're doing and you won't have time to think about your heart going pitty-pat.
Guess you should know about psychology, Bird Dog. Now let's get on to the next case. The student who was overconfident. He came within inches of totally destroying an L-19 because he was too sure of himself. He was shooting landings in a light crosswind and doing a good job of it. 6 times out of 6, he'd set it down perfectly, right on the mark without a bounce. This time, as he approached runway control, he couldn't resist taking a look, making sure they appreciated his ability. Now watch as he unknowingly centers the stick. The plane starts to weather vane. He feels it going, but it's too late.
Man, that was an action-packed fit.
I'm sure the student thought so too. Maybe this has taught him a lesson, but the price is too high. He knows now that a landing is not complete until the plane has slowed to taxi speed.
Know what?
What, Bird Dog?
This guy and the other guy both got the same trouble. Neither one had his mind in what his airplane was doing.
You're right, Bird Dog. The key to directional control is absolute concentration on one thing.
Maybe you should review the controls they use on the ground.
All right, let's start right at the beginning. First, let's list the controls which maintain direction on the ground. The rudder and tail wheel, brakes, ailerons, and throttle. In addition, the elevators help these controls to do their job by keeping the tail on the ground. Let's deal with them one at a time. The simplest definition of directional control is that it is the technique of keeping your aircraft aligned with the center line of the runway throughout the after-landing roll. After touchdown, and up to the point where you slow down, you're chiefly dependent on your rudder for directional control. As long as you have sufficient speed to provide air movement over the rudder, it will turn your plane.
Think into it. Throttle sends a shot of air over your tail. With the engine speeding up, torque will pull the nose to the left, helping you to straighten your plane. Elevators. Stick full back whenever you're rolling out to help all the other controls to do their job.
All right, Bird Dog, does that wind it up?
One more thing. See these pedals? In the air, you can push them any darn way you want. Accidentally putting your brakes on at 2,000 feet ain't gonna hurt nobody. But on the ground, keep your heels on the floor when you use rudder, or you're liable to make a mess like this. Pilots don't get hurt in ground loops, but us guys do. Someday, us guys are gonna get the upper hand, and you guys better look out.